Ready to explore some Buddhist wisdom? We're diving deep into Buddha's secrets to true happiness today.
Sounds intriguing.
It is. And even if you think you've got this happiness thing down pat, this deep dive might surprise you.
Yo, I bet.
We're going way beyond the basics here, uncovering how these ancient principles can actually apply to our modern lives.
You know what I find fascinating about Buddhist teachings on happiness? They offer a totally different perspective than what we usually hear. It's not about chasing achievements or possessions.
Right, it's not about the stuff.
It's about finding a deep sense of peace and contentment within that doesn't rely on all those fleeting things.
So it's like instead of thinking, if I just get that promotion, then I'll be happy, Buddhism is saying happiness is an inside job.
Exactly. And the text we're looking at really digs into this idea of anicca, impermanence. Everything is constantly changing, our bodies, emotions, even our thoughts.
It's a pretty radical concept when you really think about it.
It makes you question so much of what we're told about finding happiness.
Yeah, so much of our culture is about clinging to things. Security, comfort, status. Buddhism seems to be saying, let go of that tight grip, you'll find more freedom.
That's a great way to put it. And that's where the Four Noble Truths come in. They're like Buddhism's greatest hits. A framework for understanding and overcoming suffering.
Okay, let's break those down. The first noble truth is the truth of suffering, dukkha. But we're not just talking about physical pain, are we?
Definitely not. Dukkha includes all kinds of human experiences, from obvious pain to that subtle feeling of unease when things are just a little off, even if you can't explain why.
Like that nagging feeling that something's missing even when things seem good on the surface.
Exactly, and acknowledging this truth instead of trying to ignore it, that's the first step towards finding lasting peace.
Makes sense. What about the second noble truth?
That's the truth of the cause of suffering. Buddhism says this suffering comes from craving and clinging tanha.
It's like we're always chasing that next hit of pleasure, that next achievement, that next thing we think will finally make us happy, but then it fades and we're on to the next one.
Exactly. We cling to good feelings, possessions, relationships, even ideas and beliefs, thinking they'll bring us lasting happiness. But that kind of happiness is always conditional, always depends on things outside of us.
So how do we break free from this cycle? Is that where the third noble truth comes in? The truth of the cessation of suffering.
You got it. This truth offers hope. It says that suffering can end when we eliminate craving and clinging. We let go of that constant grasping and we can experience true liberation.
Liberation? That sounds pretty amazing.
It is. It's a state of peace and contentment that Buddhism calls nirvana.
Nirvana. That's a word we hear a lot. What does it really mean, though? Is it some kind of blissful afterlife?
That's a common misconception. Nirvana is often translated as heaven, but it's not a place you go after you die.
I see.
It's a state of being. Complete liberation from suffering. You can experience it in this life.
So you don't have to wait till you die to experience nirvana?
Nope. Different schools of Buddhism have different interpretations. But ultimately, it's about reaching a state of profound peace and freedom, not swayed by all the ups and downs of our desires and emotions.
Okay, so if suffering can end, how do we actually get there? Is the fourth noble truth, the truth of the path to the cessation of suffering.
Exactly. This truth gives us the path to liberation, the Eightfold Path.
The Eightfold Path. That sounds a bit daunting. Where do you even start?
Well, that's the beauty of it. It's not about mastering all 8 aspects at once. It's a journey.
Okay.
Each part supports and reinforces the others. Think of it as a toolbox.
A toolbox. I like that.
Full of practical tools for building a happier, more fulfilling life.
I'm ready to open that toolbox.
Yeah.
Let's peek inside. What are some of the tools that really stand out? I'm kind of drawn to right view.
Right view is about understanding reality, seeing things as they truly are without the distortion of our desires and preconceptions.
So you're not letting your own baggage cloud your vision.
You got it. Recognizing that everything is interconnected and impermanent. That concept of anicca we talked about earlier.
So it's about shifting your perspective, seeing the bigger picture, understanding that everything changes constantly. Clinging to any one thing is pointless.
It is. And when we develop right view, we start to loosen the grip of our anxieties and fears. We see they're often based on a misunderstanding of how things really are.
I can see how that would be helpful. What about right intention? That's about being a good person, right?
It is. It's about aligning your actions with your values, making choices that benefit you and others.
So like thinking about the ripple effects of your actions.
Exactly. It's about shifting from a me-first mindset to a we mindset.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I love that it also emphasizes compassion for yourself as well as others. We often forget about that part.
It's crucial. You can't truly offer compassion to others if you haven't cultivated it within yourself. And then there's right mindfulness, which is especially important in today's world.
Oh yeah, with all the distractions and information overload, being mindful feels harder than ever.
It does. Which makes it even more important to practice. It's about paying attention to the present moment, your thoughts, feelings, sensations without judgment.
So it's like hitting the pause button on all the mental chatter.
It is. It's about becoming aware of that constant chatter in our minds and choosing to focus on what truly matters.
So it's about finding that stillness in the middle of all the chaos.
Exactly. Creating space for inner peace and clarity in the middle of all the stimulation of modern life.
We've covered a lot with the Four Noble Truths and touched on some key parts of the Eightfold Path. There's so much more to explore.
Definitely.
Should we take a break here and then dive into Metta next time?
That sounds like a great place to pick up Metta. Or loving kindness is a practice that can really transform your relationship with yourself and the world around you. Looking forward to exploring that more.
Me too.
So we're diving into Metta now. It's a practice that could really help with all the negativity we see in the world these days.
You had me at antidote to negativity.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is Metta exactly? Is it just about thinking happy thoughts?
It's more than that metta or loving kindness. It's about actively cultivating a feeling of warmth and goodwill towards yourself and others.
So like spreading good vibes.
Kind of. But it goes beyond just our friends and family. It even includes people we might not like so much.
That sounds tough. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Cultivate loving kindness for someone who's, well, not exactly your favorite person.
It's a practice. It takes time. But that's where its power comes in. It's easy to be kind to people who are kind to us.
True.
The real challenge is showing that kindness to those who challenge us, the ones we might even resent.
I can see how that would be transformative.
Oh.
But how do you actually do it? What was the Metta meditation practice look like?
It's surprisingly simple. You sit comfortably, close your eyes, and start by directing those feelings of loving kindness towards yourself.
Oh, okay.
You might repeat phrases like, may I be well, may I be happy, may I be peaceful.
I like that.
And then you gradually extend those feelings outwards, first to loved ones, then to neutral people, then to those difficult people, and eventually to all beings everywhere.
So it's like a ripple effect of kindness.
Exactly. Starting with yourself and expanding outward. And the more you practice, the more you start to really embody that sense of loving kindness in your everyday life.
It changes how you interact with the world.
Exactly.
This is really making me think. I can see how powerful cultivating loving kindness could be, not just for your own well-being, but for the whole world. And speaking of cultivating a different way of being, I want to talk about detachment. That's always been a tough one for me.
Detachment, it's one of those concepts that's often misunderstood. It's not about becoming emotionless or checking out of life.
So you're not saying we should become robots?
Definitely not. It's not about suppressing your emotions or becoming indifferent to everything.
Okay.
It's about understanding what attachment really is, how clinging to things, outcomes, even people, can lead to suffering.
I see. But how do you find that balance? Engaging with the world, but letting go of that tight grip at the same time.
Think of it like this. You're playing a game you really love. You're fully in it, giving it your all. But you're not devastated if you lose.
You're a good sport.
You understand that the outcome doesn't define you or your happiness. You can enjoy the process without being attached to the result.
That's a great analogy. So it's about being present, engaged, but not hinging your happiness on things you can't control.
Yes. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care without creating unnecessary suffering for yourself.
Okay.
You can still have goals, aspirations, relationships, but you approach them with openness and acceptance, knowing that things might not always go as planned.
So you're not setting yourself up for disappointment.
Exactly. It's about finding freedom within those experiences. Now, what about wisdom? I'm curious about that too. It seems like wisdom is at the core of everything we've been talking about.
It does. So what is wisdom in Buddhism exactly?
It's more than just knowing a lot of facts. It's about developing deep insight into reality.
So not just book smarts.
Right. It's about seeing through the illusions that our ego creates, recognizing how everything is connected, and understanding the impermanent nature of, well, everything.
So it's about seeing things as they really are.
Exactly. It's about developing a clear view of reality. And that's what leads to lasting peace and happiness.
It makes sense. The more you understand how things work, the less you're thrown off by life's ups and downs.
Right. You don't get caught up in the drama as much. And that brings us to Nirvana. It's a word we hear a lot, but what does it really mean in Buddhist teachings?
Yeah, it feels like a big concept.
It is often described as the ultimate goal in Buddhism, complete liberation from suffering, but it's not some place you go after you die.
Okay.
It's a state of being,
Eh?
perfect peace, freedom, happiness, beyond anything we can imagine in this world.
That sounds pretty amazing,
It does.
but it also sounds kind of out of reach. How do you even begin to approach something like that?
While Nirvana might seem far off, but Buddhism gives us tools and practices to experience glimpses of that peace and freedom right now.
Right here, right now.
That's the beauty of it. It's not just about striving for some distant goal. It's about cultivating a way of being that brings more peace and joy into our lives every single day.
I love that. What are some of those practices? The ones that can help us get a taste of nirvana in our daily lives?
Daily meditation is a powerful one. Even just a few minutes a day. Focusing on your breath can cultivate mindfulness and a sense of inner stillness.
I've heard that gratitude is important too.
It is. It's about taking time each day to appreciate the good things in your life, no matter how small. It shifts your perspective and increases contentment.
You start to notice the good stuff more.
Exactly. You recognize the abundance that's already present, and then there's generosity.
Generosity, like giving to charity.
That's one way. But it's also about sharing your time, your energy, a listening ear.
So being generous with more than just money.
Exactly. It's about the intention behind it. A simple smile, a helping hand. Those are all acts of generosity that can brighten someone's day and bring more joy into the world.
I love that it's shifting from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. What else? Are there any other practices that come to mind?
Simplifying your life is another powerful one.
Like decluttering, getting rid of stuff.
It can be about that, but it's also about reducing our desires, focusing on what truly matters. It's about creating space in your life for connection purpose, meaning...
So less stuff, more experiences.
Exactly. Shifting your focus from external possessions to inner fulfillment.
We've covered so much today, and it's incredible how much practical wisdom Buddhism offers for dealing with the challenges of modern life and finding true happiness. Should we wrap things up here? Or is there anything else you'd like to add before we close out our exploration of Buddha's secrets to true happiness?
Yeah, we've barely scratched the surface. There's just so much to these teachings.
There is. It really is a lifelong journey. But that's also what's so cool about it. You can keep digging deeper and discovering new things.
You mentioned the thought-provoking question before we wrap up. I'm ready for it.
Okay, here it is. If you could let go of one unhealthy attachment today, what would it be? And how would that change things for you? How would it open you up to more joy?
Wow, that's a really powerful question. It makes you think about all those things we hold on to so tightly, even when they're causing us pain. It does. It makes you see that letting go can actually be the key to greater freedom and happiness. It's not always easy, but it can be so worth it.
I think I need some time to really think about that one. It's a question that stays with you.
It is, because sometimes the things we think we need to be happy are actually the very things that are holding us back.
So to sum up all this wisdom, what's the main takeaway from our deep dive into Buddha's secrets to true happiness?
Well, I think the biggest thing is this Buddhism offers a path to lasting happiness that's not about chasing those temporary pleasures or always needing approval from others.
It's about finding that happiness within.
Exactly. It's about cultivating those qualities within ourselves. Wisdom, compassion, mindfulness, detachment, the qualities that help us experience joy no matter what's happening around us.
What I really appreciate about Buddhism is that it's not just some abstract philosophy. It gives us actual tools and techniques we can use in our everyday lives.
Absolutely. You don't have to become a monk or anything like that to benefit from these teachings.
Yeah.
Even small things like meditating for a few minutes each day or practicing gratitude can make a big difference.
Small steps lead to big changes.
They do. I'm leaving this deep dive feeling really inspired and with a lot to think about. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you for sharing your insights with us. And to everyone listening, remember, the journey to happiness is an ongoing exploration. Keep learning, keep practicing, and keep those seeds of joy growing within you.